I'm a big fan of the original Alien films, and so when the 4K home video disc of Aliens appeared recently, I wanted to do something a little bit different to how most of my fellow YouTubers would be able to review it. My colleague Simon Nichols is also a big Aliens fan and actually has an original 35mm theatrical release print, so about a month ago we got together to scrutinise the 4K against the 35mm. It was a brilliant day. When I reviewed the 4K of Alien about 4 years ago, I also featured my entire Alien collection, and so I thought I should do the same thing here with my Aliens collection. In that Alien video I included my film prints on both Super 8 and 35mm, and while I don't have a 35mm print of Aliens, I do have 2 copies of it on Super 8. My first copy is a first-run print on Kodak film stock from 1989. I never fully appreciated how accurate a representation of the 35mm prints it is until that day spent in Simon's fabulous cinema. I keep that print on 2 big reels. The first is a 1600-foot reel and runs for about 85 minutes, whereas the second is a 1200-foot and runs for about 50 minutes. I neglected to connect the sync pulse during the first reel, and that's why you can see some flickering travelling lines on the image, but hopefully the overall quality is still just about there to see. My second print is made up of reels I purchased here and there over a few years for not very much money, but after keeping a lookout for a few years more, I simply had not come across an odd 5th reel. Eventually I spoke to Duran Film Services to ask how much a one-off reel 5 would cost, and I was delighted to be offered the reel for just £60. All I then had to do was wait for it to be printed, striped, recorded, spooled up and shipped to me. That whole second feature copy ended up costing me only £160, and it's been there as a backup ever since, just in case anything untoward were to ever happen to that treasured first-run copy. But I have projected the second copy to check it a number of times down the years. I'm able to project Aliens just over 8 feet wide from a throw of only 12 feet, which is quite an achievement with Super 8. The projector it's running on here is the special Elmo GS1200 I use at the British Film Collectors Conventions with the HDI lamp installation. It takes Super 8 to its limits, and that's a big part of the reason why Aliens look so good from this tiny film gauge. The Aliens Super 8 copies are undoubtedly my most prized Aliens collectibles, but I have quite a few others. The most recent addition was this fabulous book, Aliens, the Set Photography, which I purchased from Forbidden Planet on Shaftesbury Avenue last year. Thinking about it, the 4K UHD disc was even more recent, but I did only purchase this so Simon and I could do the 4K 35mm review video, but it's also interesting to compare it to the Super 8 copy too. I do appreciate the work that has gone into the new 4K, but as I said before, I know this film too well, and I will always prefer to see it as it really was, and therefore in that regard, the Super 8 prints are how I will continue to enjoy this great film in the years ahead. For anyone who doesn't know Aliens well, or perhaps has never seen it, it could be that after seeing the 4K, it would be difficult to accept Aliens looking any other way. I do think the 4K would be far more acceptable on a huge cinema screen, but they're quite rare these days. The bigger it is projected, the better I think the overly sharp and sometimes distorted imagery would be more successfully disguised. I did briefly show many of my other Aliens collectibles in my Alien video in early 2021, including these assembled model kits from the 1990s, which are now kept in this display cabinet with fading multicoloured LED lighting. Quite a few film-related toys and other items are kept in here, but the top tier is occupied by the Alien Queen in perpetual battle with Ripley in the power loader. In the media room, the 3 Aliens Micro Machines model sets hang on the wall alongside other film memorabilia, posters and front-of-house sets. Also among the pictures displayed in here is a somewhat younger movie collector posing for a photo with the Alien Queen. This was during a visit to Alien War in the Trocadero, which I think opened in October 1993. We just happened to be passing by on opening night when Sigourney Weaver came out to do the official opening. Those were the days. I thought Alien War was brilliant. I did shoot some Super 8 in that dark basement area, but it was too dark and unfortunately I didn't have a lamp on my Super 8 camera. Still, at least I got something. Back in 1986, an official magazine was issued to coincide with the film's release, and also a book which has always felt more like another magazine to me. I have looked through these two publications a lot over the years, but never detached or used the posters at the back of that book. Other books, magazines and fanzines followed, but the top souvenir in those early years was briefly the VHS tape in 1989. I did watch this a couple of times, but understandably, much of the impact of the film was lost in this low-quality home video release. Fortunately, Duran's Super 8 feature release appeared shortly after and supplanted the VHS immediately and, in fact, every other home media release to this day. I showed the LaserDiscs at the end of the Aliens 35mm 4K comparison video, but here they are in a little more detail. This is the 4-disc NTSC CAV box set, which has the most fabulous extras disc. The other 3 discs are the special edition of Aliens across 5 sides. The constant angular velocity format limits the running time of each side to around 30 minutes, hence the complete film is over 5 sides. On the PAL Special Edition LaserDisc, the format is constant linear velocity, which is capable of more than an hour per side. The image quality on each is very good, but probably the standout feature is the sound. I re-recorded my Super 8 prints from the original NTSC CLV disc, and the end result on Kodak pre-stripe stock is exceptional. In November 1997, Sigourney Weaver came over to the London Film Festival and was interviewed on stage in NFT1, following a screening of her then new film, The Ice Storm. This is the PAL LaserDisc of that film, and I think it's pretty terrific in every respect. I do remember her coming onto the stage that night and looking a little overwhelmed, and at the end of the interview, thanking everyone for coming. I've seen most of her films, including some of her more obscure titles, such as Roman Polanski's 1994 Death and the Maiden, which we saw at the Curzon on Shaftesbury Avenue when it was still a magnificent all-in-one auditorium, rather than the multi-screen theatre it is today. Yes, she's been in some great films besides the Alien series. But it's the Alien series that I've enjoyed the most, and although the 4K disc of Aliens isn't exactly how I would like to see this great film, it is great that it's had a new release that is appealing to a new audience nearly 40 years after the film was first in cinemas. It's been a bit of a dream owning a film print all these years and being able to enjoy it on a big screen during all that time. Now, many more people are able to do the same thing with the myriad home video releases, but the one I haven't seen is probably the home video of choice for those wanting the imagery to look the closest to the original film prints, and that is the standard Blu-ray issued some years ago. I know that wasn't very well received at the time, but that's possibly because people didn't understand that Aliens was always a little too grainy and had a dark, muted look with a blue cast to it, which was probably fully intended to make the film as a whole look more realistic. I now have a better understanding of that side of Aliens, and as a result I have a renewed appreciation for how good those previous home video releases are, and also the Super 8 print. I should also mention the wonderful score contained here within this soundtrack CD. James Horner knocked out this score so quickly, but created something brilliant, and in particular, that climactic concluding theme. I watched Die Hard a few days ago, and I've forgotten it was also used during the conclusion of that film. It's also turned up on a lot of movie trailers since 1986 too, but hearing it within another major 20th Century Fox film is a little more surprising. Yes, that Alien score was a wonderful score to a wonderful film, and a film that I've never tired of. I've watched it 3 times this year on film in preparation for a possible review video as a result of the 4K being issued, and I could easily watch it again today. I haven't seen that 4K all the way through, but while I've got Super 8 prints, I'm probably never likely to. A lot of people are very happy with the new 4K, but anyone who isn't, I do think that original standard Blu-ray is what you should stick with, or if you haven't seen it before, perhaps give it a try for the first time. Just keep in mind that Aliens never looked as good as you might have thought, and then perhaps you'll be able to appreciate that Blu-ray far more than you ever expected or ever did previously. In my last video, which was a review of the Arrow Films release of Exorcist 3, I slipped in a deliberate mistake. The perpetrator has had a swift kick up the backside, but the upshot is that I dropped in the wrong poster when detailing the budget and worldwide box office. It should have looked like this, but I managed to put it on screen with a poster for the 1978 film Exorcist II: The Heretic. You just can't get the staff these days. One last thing. I'm recording this just before Christmas in 2024, and for anyone who fancies a really lovely film-related Christmas video, I'll leave a link to this 35mm screening video of Polar Express in the description below, and also in a link at the end of this video. It's been uploaded by Alan's Photography and Video, and it's the audience of grandchildren who make this video so memorable and so special. I think that if you love film, you're going to love this one, so take a look at it, and if you like what you see, maybe give it a like and subscribe to Alan's Photography and Video, and that should help to make his Christmas a little more special, as he's made mine with this beautiful upload. Right, I think that brings us to the end. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like and perhaps consider subscribing, so I'll be encouraged to carry on creating similar content to this in the future. Until the next video, bye-bye for now.